5 key things to look out for during a property investment viewing and expert tips for investment property success. So I've been investing in properties for a few years now. So what I'm going to do in today's video is just share a couple of practical tips on things that I look for whilst I'm doing property investment viewings. So if you've ever found yourself in front of a property investment, just having a look in terms of if you're wanting to view the property and you've thought to yourself, what am I here for? What am I even looking for right now? Trust me, you are not alone. And I have literally been sticking to my plan of looking and investing in mixed use commercial properties that maybe need a little bit of TLC to say the least, that properties that have mixed use properties that are empty or just neglected and just on the market and stuff like that, and that need that little bit of TLC and sort of bringing them back into the housing stock again with the view to rent them and basically converting these spaces into residential spaces once again. So I have literally viewed my fair share of properties with the view to actually purchasing them and doing just that. So with that being said, let's dive into my 5 top things to look out for when you're going to be doing your property investment viewings. I've done videos on this in the past as well, so what I'll do is I'll link that above. My first point is really to do your research. You need to do a lot of things beforehand before you even go and invest in a property or go to even look with a view of viewing the actual property. So I do all my background checks, my prior research and everything, all in accordance with my property investment plan. From then I kind of look and I've built out a property profile for each property that I want to get. So what does that mean? That basically means I have an overall 5-year plan. So I have SMART goals and things for my short-term plan, my medium plan, and my long sort of 5-year overall plan. And again, I have a whole playlist on this where I talk about SMART goals, what you're wanting to get out of your property journey, how to bundle that all together so that you are literally focused and you are buying properties or viewing properties with the view to give you the right ROI that you need, the amount of properties that you might need in total, that, you know, just all things like this so that you have focus and drive when you are going on your property journey. So you go from A to B. So I will list all that down as well. So I basically know how much ROI I'll need to get from each property that I'm potentially looking at purchasing, and therefore I know how many properties that I'll need, because the overall plan is so that the properties the income from the properties matches or surpasses the income from our day job. And this is a lot of work that you'll do up front before you even start looking at properties. And then from there, you'll find out what type of property that your property profile or avatar of the type of properties that you literally are going to be looking for in order to purchase. So you'll have done all this market research and everything all up front. And again, as I said, I'll link the videos to those. So this just helps you kind of look through properties with focus, and you can discount properties that don't either meet your ROI or fit into your overall property investment plan. And you can then focus on the properties that do meet your property profile and your overall investment property plan. And I literally am a right geek with this as well. I keep a running spreadsheet of all of these, why I've discounted them, the main points as to why I have discounted each of the properties, and the points, and I note down as well on my spreadsheet why I'm actually thinking, right, this is a potential property that I need to view. And the reason why I do that is because it's the best research. It kind of builds a catalogue of things that you can refer back to later on in your property journey, so that it literally keeps you focused and you can build, as I said, this backlog and this catalogue of things that you're actually looking out for, the type of properties that you're actually looking for. So it can be a really, really useful tool when you're looking back on your progress. So once I've done all of that, I also carry a notebook with me as well, which probably comes as a given. And then you can, whilst you're on your either a notebook, or if you want to add stuff into your notes, things like that. So whilst you're on the viewing, you can actually take notes as to things that are happening in the property, what things that you notice, so that you've got something again to refer back to later on. And also a quick tip as well, which is great, if you take a picture of the front door and then obviously take pictures throughout the property that of points of interest within the property that you want to refer back to, and then take a picture of the back door. If you're anything like me and you've actually got a lot of properties booked out on that day, so you've got which photos belong to which property, so you don't get confused as to, right, there's a picture of a boiler here, I don't know which property that belongs to. If you took the picture of the front door, then you know exactly what property where it belongs to. And then if you've got one of the back door as well, you know all the properties within that on your camera roll between the front door and the back door, that all belongs to that property. So it just helps you again sort of manage everything, and you know where you are with everything. And you can also tally it back up to your notes as well. And what I'll do as well, guys, is I've actually I've got footage and photos of properties that I've been viewing recently. So throughout this video, I'll just put this in through a sort of camera roll for you so that you can see some of the type of properties that I'm sort of looking at. And point two, the main thing that we're actually looking at is the structure, the internals, everything like that. It doesn't sound that exciting, but it really will be. So you're really scrutinizing all of the cracks, anything in the walls that you can see, where the cracks leading to. Is there any sort of damp anywhere as well? The damp patches alluding to the fact that maybe there's been a leak or a water leak somewhere, or maybe there's a leak in the roof. You're literally looking for anything like that within the structure. So these could allude to underlying sort of problems or issues with the property. Again, if you're taking photos and stuff, even better still if you brought your builder along. But if you are taking photos, you can send those to your builder or whoever is going to be taking part in the building work for you, just to get a second opinion. Also, you need to be checking things like your windows, your doors. If are they escape windows currently, will you need to change them to escape windows, for example? If you're doing what I'm doing, where you're converting the bottom and the top of the property into two separate flats, which I've done in the past, what I had to do with the top floor is I had to change the bottom floor as well. I had to change all of the windows so that the top floor, at least, they were escape windows. So obviously, if anything happens, the person, whoever's living there, they can be pulled out of the windows by the firefighters, basically. So just make sure that you're looking at stuff like that, because if you do need to change those, then again, that's an extra cost. So you need to know that before you make an offer. And that's also something which I'll go on to later on in the video, but you can use things like that. You could use as a negotiation tactic as well to get a better offer, but I'll get into that when we further into the video. So we're checking stuff like that. We're checking also before we even go in. Again, another good tip is if you turn up a good 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes beforehand, before you're meeting the estate agent. That's if you meet the estate agent, that is. You can have a quick look around in peace from the roadside sort of thing, and you can check and see whether is there a dip in the roof line, because that, the tiles missing and things like that. Is the ridge there? Stuff like that. Are there any issues with the ridge, the verges, anything like that? So you can see, this might need a new roof, but you're having a look without the estate agent sort of hanging over you as well. And you can also get a feel for the area as well. So for any of my sort of remote investors out there, if you don't really know the area, what you're looking, where the property is, where you're looking, maybe if you're an investor from the south and you're looking at properties in the north, if you get there a good while before the estate agent, you can sort of get a feel for the area to see whether what it's like in that area. Would seem like it's a bit of a dodgy area. Is there, you can just get a feel for the area before the estate agent comes to distract you kind of thing. Which leads me on to my next point quite nicely. We're looking at the location and the surrounding area. So again, as I said, if you come a little bit earlier, you can have a bit of a walk round, you can get a feel for the area, just see what's happening, what are the local residents like. Obviously, you would have done this research beforehand as well, hopefully, but you can look into and see see what the school's like nearby, if that's one of the things that has drawn you to that area, whether there's a hospital or there's a large sort of major development in the area, or there's things that's going to draw people in there, which is going to equal sort of demand for rents in that area of wherever you're looking at. There's signs of growth, is there regeneration there, are things happening there that you don't know about. And again, that's more for my remote investors that, as I said, investing in areas that they may not potentially know the area that well. If you get there slightly early, you can get that feel for the area and what it's like by physically going there a little bit earlier than the estate agent, so that you can walk around in peace. And maybe even if you see some of the locals, you can have a chat with them. But you never know, you'll be surprised what you'll learn as well, because you never know, you might see something that ticks all the boxes, everything that you're looking for within your property criteria on paper, and then when you go, it's not quite hitting the mark, and you can't, maybe the demand for rental in that area is not great because maybe there's a high level of crime or something like that in that area, which is going to be a really have a really knock-on effect on your finances. And talking finances, I actually use Unbiased for all of my financial needs, so to speak. So if you've got anything within your finances that you really want to sort of look at and have a deep dive into, you can actually use Unbiased for that, because they will literally match you with a really good financial advisor or whatever it is that you might need. The link's in the description box below. You can get your first consultation free of charge as well, and obviously I will make a small commission for everyone who signs up, so thank you. Right, so we get on to the next point, which is the property's layout and the spatial potential as well. So if you're anything like me, if your property plan involves you purchasing mixed mixed commercial development properties that you want to bring back and make them back into residential, maybe by creating flats like what I've done, you'll have like a minimum sort of square meters requirement area for that property for each floor, which I have in my head, and I want to hit that each and every time. So once I actually go out there and do sort of a physical sort of viewing, I'll carry along with me a laser measure as well. So if there's not that many people at that viewing at that time, if it's not an open viewing, for example, and I have time, I'll do a few couple spot measures just to make sure that I've got my areas right and that I know that it will have that square meterage. And once I rejig the layout, I'm going to get what I want from the properties in each floor. So I'll do that as well and just make sure. Obviously, I know that a lot of the plans that you'll see on Rightmove before you actually go to the view, when you actually look at the property listing, it'll have the square meterage on there. But I just like to go with a laser measure just to spot check and make sure that I am going to hit that area requirement that I want, and that also the layout is going to fit, it's going to work right, I'm going to get the drainage where I need it to be, and it's not going to be too much of a fuss, or it's all going to work out the way that I've planned it all out to do. And if anyone needs any help or any advice or anything on layouts and things like that, you can always reach out to me. All my details are in the description box below. By the way, my name's Sabrina and I am literally documenting my whole property investment journey here on YouTube. So I'll show you my ups and more importantly my downs, so that you don't make any of the same mistakes that I might make. So if that's something that you're interested in, please like, comment and subscribe for more from this channel. Thanks. Bye. Nothing is better than actually going to site, having a look at the viewing and actually walking through what you're planning on doing to that property should you go for it and put an offer in. So you're making sure that the flow's right, it's going to be nice, it will be a nice place to live once you've done all these adjustments, and more importantly you're going to get the area that you need and that you want. That's what I look at anyway, that I want to get out from each layout. My next point is you need to check out all of the utilities. Regardless of what you're going to be doing with the property, you want to be making sure that water and everything works fine, the plumbing's okay, the electrics, does it look like it does need a full rewire? If it does, is that going to be something that's easy to do? Where, you know, everything like that. Obviously, we're running back to what I did with one of my other properties where we split the property into 2 flats. Obviously, I had to look at putting in new meters, all stuff like that, upgrading the external electrics as well. I had to get obviously Western Power to come out and do a bit more work as well to upgrade the actual incoming electricity going into the 2 properties. They had to come and look at that, all of the infrastructure there. And if you do need to do that, you want to get that in as soon as possible, that application, because dealing with utilities, again, that is another sort of bane of my life. It takes a long while. So when you go and you do your viewing, you need to assess all of this, double check with the builder, take photos of everything that you can sort of for reference point if you don't take your builder along with you, just so that you know. And again, as I said, that if it does need upgrading, stuff like that, again, is something that you can use as a negotiation tool. So there's a silver lining to everything. The main thing is, as long as you know and you've looked at as much as you possibly can, you are mitigating against any risk to do with that. And risk being extra time, extra cost, extra labour, extra materials, all these things which can potentially delay you. But if you research and you look beforehand and you're prepared, as I said, you can mitigate against a lot of these things. So really look into the condition of the utilities as they stand and as they are, and what that means for you and your plans for the property, what you're wanting to do. So take all of that into consideration. And that kind of leads me on to my other point as well. So we wanted to be looking for signs of damp, signs of mold, any subsidence or anything like that. And again, we are taking photos of any crack, any water damage, anything like that, where the mold's coming from, stuff like that we can take photos of and have as a point of reference. And if you know how to deal with them, you'll be fine. And obviously if you don't, you've took the photos, you can send that and, you know, get a second opinion from either your builder or from somebody else, and just making sure that you're prepared to, again, foot the cost. And if there is an extra cost that you will incur by correcting that, you can then flip it onto its head and use that as a negotiation tool. So you're looking for everything. You're looking for cracks, as I said, you're looking for water ingress. Is there stuff coming from, is the roof leaking? Has there been a major leak in the property? If it's been empty for a while, all these things. And you're planning and you're making a plan for all of these things as well, and putting time, cost and the money aside in your project plan, which again, link to that in the description box below. But you're putting all those resources aside and you're equipping yourself from the get-go as soon as possible for this project, should you want to go ahead with it. So guys, those are my top tips. Again, I have another video covering other things to look out for property investment viewings, and I'll link that above. But yeah, those are my thoughts. What are your thoughts? Pop those in the comments below, and I will see you on the next one. And if you do want to have a look at what I do on a project, watch this playlist next. Thanks. Bye.